Now I'm going to ask you to do a little thought experiment, okay? You can picture a family living in a house, and this house has to be cleaned. Right? It's been a while since it's been cleaned. It's getting a little dusty. It's getting a little dirty, and it just has to be cleaned. So there's the parents have two options. Either they do the cleaning themselves, or they get in touch with a professional cleaner. Okay, but they also have in mind that they would like to get their son used to a little bit of discipline, a little bit of responsibility, and so they want the son to at least clean his room. Okay, so you can imagine two scenarios. A scenario where the professional cleaner is contacted and comes over and cleans the whole house, except, again, the son's room. The other scenario is a scenario where the parents take care of the whole house. Let's say the father in this case, right? To challenge some gender stereotypes. And again, the son is taking care of his room. And the son says, yeah, I will clean my room, that's okay. Okay, so you get in the first scenario, a scenario where the professional cleaner shows up. He's got all this, he's, again, a man, continuing to challenge our stereotypes. He has all these cleaning products and he leaves no stone unturned, so to speak. All the corners, it's all making sure that everything is spick and span, sparkly, that nothing is left dirty in any part of the house. Very, very meticulous, very punctilious, great attention to detail, takes the time that's needed. What's important is that everything is neat and tidy and clean, and takes hours, gets paid for it. Okay. If, in the second scenario, the parents take care of it, and the job is kind of the same, except it's not done with quite the same level of proficiency because they're not professional cleaners. So they overlook certain parts. There's certain nooks and crannies that they're not used to paying attention to in the same way. So maybe they leave a bit of dust in these areas. Maybe there's like certain parts underneath the fridge or underneath certain pieces of furniture where there's a bit of dirt. They don't notice it, but overall it's mostly quite clean. They've done their job responsibly, and the house is definitely fully functional and clean again, even though the standard of if you like, their performance was not quite the level of the professional cleaner. Meanwhile, in both scenarios, the son is left to his own devices, not supervised. He's trusted to do the cleaning, and the son does the cleaning. He does it. He does have the sense that he should be at least somewhat responsible, and he complies. Let's say he complies quickly with his parents' request. He may even say, "I'll take care of my room." I mean, that's possible. Clean your room, like a certain Jordan Peterson says. But he takes his time and he gets distracted. There's a computer, he's talking to his friend, maybe he plays some video games, maybe he does a little bit of like designing on his laptop. If he's like literary minded, maybe he just writes some bits and pieces. And then he goes back to cleaning. He's not paying a lot of attention to it, but he does the job. It's definitely not quite as clean, but it works for him. And in the meanwhile, he's got interrupted in different kinds of ways, social, creative, interactive. Okay. Now, the reason why I sort of presented this story and these different scenarios, this thought experiment, is that I think this provides a good analogy, right? A good illustration and metaphor for the difference between TI hero, TI parent, and TI child. Okay. Of course, in this instance, TI hero is a professional cleaner. TI parent is the actual father who's taking care of the house, and TI child is the son who is not the most dedicated, not the most focused, not the most technically professional, but he's the only one who's actually kind of, in this case, probably due to his age and so on, bring a little bit of playfulness, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of spontaneity to the experience. In the sense, if someone were to sort of anticipate, like come to the house and anticipate what will this look like in the case of the professional cleaner, of the father cleaning or the son cleaning, probably say something like, well, the most predictable in terms of how this is all going to unfold is the professional cleaner, then the father, and then the son. It's like you can't really expect what the result will be, and in every new instance it probably will go about in a different way. Maybe the results will be roughly the same, but it will just, more subject to, again, spontaneous variations and fluctuations, and some things may happen out of nowhere that you didn't expect, right? That's TI child. TI child is like that. Not very proficient, not very competent most of the time, okay? Of course, someone can be highly trained in certain disciplines and that can compensate for it to some extent, but a type such as the INFJ and also the ISFJ with TI child is a child who, actually, in fact, not a child, a person whose TI is like that. It gets distracted, it is playful, it gets bored if the program is too specific, requires too much meticulosity or meticulousness. Is not able to focus in that way, and again is bored, wants to bring a little bit of spontaneity, a little bit of spark, a little bit of madness. So as you move up to parent and then to hero, there's more seriousness, there's more dedication, there's more like something akin to a program of work, all right, like almost like a project. It's not a project for TI child, it's not a project for the son. That's why you can tell the difference between a TI dominant and a TI tertiary, like an INFJ, so an INTP and an INFJ. An INFJ is going to be very serious about the unfolding of their vision, but the articulation of the vision in terms of classifying, categorizing, cleaning it up, right? Leaving no stone unturned, reducing like the vocabulary down to what's essential, making things as logical, rigorous, and systematic as possible. They're going to do some of that, but they're not going to do that entirely. And it's not their priority. They'd be bored. It's important to keep in mind, they'd be bored if they try to do that. You have no idea how many times I tried to do a kind of TI project and I got bored because it just wasn't my thing. Kept doodling, kept doodling. If you doodle, you're a TI child, you're not a TI dominant. Of course, this all refers us back to the fantasy of cleansing, which is, I think, the fantasy of the TI dominant. It's also a fantasy in the NI dominant's inner world, but it's a subsidiary fantasy next to the fantasy of repair, which is why it has a translation into something like TI child, whereas it does not in the case of the TI dominant, the INTP, ISTP, because in that case, it is the fundamental fantasy, the symbolic one, at the very center of the holistic internal web. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Don't forget you can support me on Patreon. You get access to a large amount of exclusive videos, deep dives when I go in depth about particular topics selected by the Patreon community. Helps me massively, a few bucks a month or a few bucks a year. Honestly, it makes a huge difference, so please consider joining. My Patreon page is linked down below. And don't forget, if you want to know more about INFJs, I have written 2 books on that wonderful type. The Ecstatic Soul, which is all about the inner world of the INFJ personality. If you want to know more about this in depth, this is really the book to get. The link is below. Also linked below, in fact, the first link below is the Infinite Soul. INFJ Life in the Modern World. How to lead a life as an INFJ, given the type of mind you have. As an INFJ in a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and rich. This is an absolute needed read if you want a deep understanding of the type as well. Guys, thank you for your attention, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.